So we all start somewhere. Some people start on YouTube with, well, anything. I mean, good luck being able to get views in the AI-filled setup that is modern YouTube. Some do art on Tumblr or DeviantArt, which I still haven't touched to this day. I just kind of stick to Blue Sky in my YouTube posts. And, yeah. Yes, some people started on Twitter too. I mean, even Toby Radiation, I am the voice of John Egbert Fox, started with making ROM hacks for Earthbound to, well, a bit of an unpolished degree. I technically started YouTube somewhere around the end of January 2023 when I rebooted my channel into, well, it's just kind of whatever, but I do kind of want to focus on my game dev escapades more, which I kind of, forgot about. In fact, I haven't even brought up the fact I switched from Unity to Gamemaker because of, choices Unity was intending on doing. Look, I'm not switching back, by the way. I'm using Gamemaker mostly out of spite. At least the pixels are less so retro there. If you really want to dig deep though, my videos date back to September 2017, back when I was exclusively a plush channel and my voice wasn't raptured by puberty into the apathetic, deep and weird tone it is today. Oh no! Fidget spinners! Sharky! No!
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
Why is this kid got a fidget spinner as his haircut? This looks atrocious, guys.
Fun fact, I used to have an even older video before Cooper's decision, where Cuckoo and Yoshi reacted to cringe videos, which I deleted in complete panic, thinking I was going to get a copyright strike over someone clipping other people's clips together. Which, well, considering YouTube's copyright system, I wouldn't blame 12-year-old me over that. Anyways, later on, I started uploading videos of me using the online software known as Scratch. In fact, my earliest channel trailer used it, and in the following videos, the avatar representing me was Creeptrap in their raptor form, and for whatever was supposed to be going on in my Number Books and Dinosaur themed series. Damn, I was writing peak meta-narrative cinema in 2019. Eat your heart out, Delta in Chapter 3. Eventually, I did create art specifically for recording videos on Sony Vegas, such as the first version of the live set background and Creeptrap! But my main content slowed down drastically, and I was off from YouTube for a while. But now I'm back to making content about, well, anything really, but mainly just games, let's be real. So that's my origin, right? I made plush videos in 2017, then I did not plush videos eventually. Well, I've been rambling too long, so let's get into the subject of this video and what I really started on. It's Scratch. I brought it up earlier, so I kinda made it lose impact, but yeah, it's Scratch. As early as August 2015, I made my presence on the internet known, and Scratch was my introduction to the internet, besides YouTube. And despite everything, I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. Scratch was kind of my true introduction to the internet. I mean, sure, pretty much all of us use YouTube, but Scratch was when I first felt like I was in a community and wasn't just floating around whatever videos I want to watch. Besides PBG, I love you PBG. Scratch is somewhat similar to Newgrounds, being user-curated sites that let you post pretty much anything, between animations, games, or whatever else. Key difference though is that Scratch is more kid-oriented, to the point I can remember Scratch made me have to remove jump scare sounds from one of the projects, which we'll get to later on which game that is. The thing I'm saying is, I was actually allowed to use Scratch on school computers alongside full math games. Well, I would assume I wouldn't be able to access Newgrounds on them because I actually never knew about the site until much later on. Oops. Anyways, for a more in-depth description, Scratch is a coding website that simplifies how coding works by using blocks-based coding instead of writing it down. Sure, it's simple, but it is a pretty effective way of teaching kids how to code, or at least the fundamentals of variables, animation frames, positioning, and such. And yes, this kind of was partially why I got into game deving, which you're definitely going to notice as you see how it shaped me. So let's get into this. What was the first ever Scratch project I ever made? It's a random cat racing game with like zero depth to it. According to the description, it's not much of a game and more of a gamble? Wasn't I 10 when I made this? I mean, sure, Mario 64 DS had the Luigi's Casino thing, but like, do you really understand the concept of like casino gambling this early on? It's pretty simple. They face a direction, they run to the goal, and there isn't even an end state, as it goes on forever until you hit stop. Alright, on to project number 2. Oh wait, I can't cover this now, spoilers. A lot of these earlier Scratch projects have this sort of basic arcadey game style, but even back then I was a pretty diverse creator, making all sorts of things, like an attempt at an art program, endurance-based survival games. Yo, watch me hit the sick clip on Dog Street Cats! Yo! I even copied Cookie Clicker, but with my, bird... Who is this guy?
Please address me.
Wait, breeding? Oh goodness. Okay, look, Minecraft Console Edition told me breeding made more animals. I didn't know what it actually was. All I knew was that you fed wheat to 2 cows and then it made more cows. For some reason, whenever you try to buy something, you lose way more birds than whatever you were supposed to be buying for... I don't know why. And when I looked into code... Oh my god, that is unorganized as hell. Even after looking into it, I still actually have no idea what's going on with it. It might be because of Scratch's newer updates causing older projects to start acting up or something, I don't know. Earlier, I said Scratch was the first community I really felt like I was part of, and I'd be remiss to not bring up, in my opinion, the biggest part of Scratch. Who the heck are you?
I'm Creeptrap.
Okay.
Okay, but, where am I and stuffs?
So, this is my YouTube place and stuff.
Wait, where's my plushies?
Oh, I don't do that anymore.
What? Why?
Well, wait, how are you even here? We're like 10 years into the future.
Oh, well, I was at a movie theater with my friend, but then I disappeared all of a sudden.
Okay. Well, how about we talk about my past a bit more together? Or I guess your present, that makes more sense. Add-yourself projects are a super common thing in Scratch projects. Well, at least in my time. Taking advantage of Scratch's defining feature of the site, remixing. Remixing projects lets you use the remix project as a base, letting you add your own stuff, changing up the mechanics, continuing the story, etc. And yes, there are people who remix and do absolutely nothing so they can put it on their profile. I and a lot of other people mainly use remixing to add our own characters to scenarios, which can range from... anything. It can literally be anything. The range is infinite. I mean, I literally remixed one where it's your characters reacting to the Hong Kong 97 title screen theme. I'm not making this up. 2015 was just a completely different beast from where we are now. But just for you little munchkins over here, here's a few I handpicked to have a look at. Okay, so here would be a showcase of your character's Giga. Oh wait, we're not at the Add Yourself RPG section yet. Well, for some reason, Golden Freddy's Giga is summoning 100 heads, by the way. This one has everyone in slow mode. Except Creeptrap and Golden Freddy leave. Okay, that was underwhelming. There's this one where everyone is falling down. This one's like one of the most popular Add-Yourself projects I've seen remixed. I think even I myself have remixed this like 4 times. That just goes to show how timeless this one is. Some of these are actually a really good showcase on what 99% of Scratch OCs are like. Which is to say that they're either a recolor of an already existing character, or literally just a shape with arms and legs sticking out, or your 2015 Creeptrap and are both at the same time. I jest, but you could probably argue that this still applies to my modern design for Creeptrap. And Pyron, you could make a case for him too. Anyways, this was what I was talking about earlier. Adding your own characters to scenarios made it feel more like I was in a small community with the same people getting involved in each other's projects. In a way, it kind of helped me connect to people online and, well, get a feel for what it's like on the internet. Add Yourself projects may be commonplace in the realm of Scratch, but Add Yourself RPGs? Now this is where peak fiction's really at. Well, for me, I was an Add Yourself RPG kid myself. Add Yourself RPGs, as the title states, are turn-based RPGs, usually a single fight translated over to Scratch's janky software. Most of the time, battles are automatic and sometimes MP or Giga systems aren't in place. I'll get to the Giga system later in case you don't know what that is. But you know what? Even to this day, I still have a deep love for these. Really, you can make anything an Add Yourself RPG. Random objects, video game characters, Scratch assets, Sonic bosses, there's a lot of those by the way. Kailu from Go Animate, remember this was 2015. Or Donald Trump. Wow, this one sure is relevant still. In fact, there's so many Add Yourself RPG bosses, even just from my account, that it'd take a while to list them all. So anyways, I'm gonna do that because I'm a crazy little autistic lad. Go Animate Kailu, Evil Scripts, Evil Characters, I'm just gonna lump these all into one boss because there's a ton of these. Nero from Freedom Planet, Ethan from Pokeslop, Eggman from the Sonic Game Gear games, Mecha Scratch Cat, these are actually also another insanely common form of Add Yourself RPG fights against evil Scratch Cats, Shark from the stock Scratch asset folder, Retrospective, Donkey Kong from the original arcade games, Giant Sonic from the Sonic Game Gear games, Sonic.exe, I know it's technically an evil variant but I feel like bringing him up, Evil Giant Ice Cube, Metal Sonic but like a dragon, Halloween Pumpkin that sucks up everyone except for...
Whoa! Is that blackface, dude?
No, this isn't blackface. I'm an actual demon.
Get the down!
Creeptrap, that's racist!
Oh, but that was my spooky Halloween costume because it's Halloween.
Yeah, but you can't just do blackface like that. Where did this come from? Fire Breath from Sonic 3, Evil Thunderstorms, the Noob King, Evil Electric Bowling Bulbs, Dr. Zomboss, the Block of Obsidian, Evil Sentient Bubbles, an Anthropomorphic Shark, Skeletron from Terraria. Can I count Corrupted variants as a different enemy? I just want to show Puppet Spyro on this one. Spyro, but like cringe.
Okay.
I canonically do not know who Spyro is.
Mario from Super Mario Bros. 3, Nightmare from FNAF 4, Bowser from Mario Bros. 1, The Annoying Orange, Donald Trump, Pumpkin Swine from FNAF World, some horrendous fusion between Retrospective and all of the stock characters and Scratch's image library, and Infinite from Sonic Forces. Yeah, there's a lot of boss fights in the Scratch universe, but that was the RPG part. What about the Add Yourself bit? Whoa, this is where I think things have the potential to be interesting, since RPGs tend to have a wide cast of archetypes that play differently around the enemy or party. Alright, tangent time, but Dicey Dungeons, really good game, you should play it, has 6 characters who have very different playstyles, despite all using the dice system. Like, the warrior wouldn't be able to get much out of 1s and 2s, but the thief thrives off getting tons of small values. And then the robot is like that one Flipnote meme.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it!
Anyways, even within those classes, there's different builds you can go for, depending on what Lady Luck decides for you. I'm not joking with that, one of the characters is literally Lady Luck. Damn, I should cover this game, I literally have mods installed for it, it is so good. Anyways, the same thing can kind of apply for Add Yourself RPGs, just for a more conventional number crunching turn-based system they have going on here. Shame pretty much everyone in them boils down to different flavors of damages though. Despite this though, I actually got pretty experimental with character mechanics, like including status effects or making characters a little less attacking with my OC-E. In fact, the latest projects in my library have you actively controlling my characters. There was just a lot more I did in these than I remembered, and I gotta give props to myself for that. I also could just make them, like, evil and shit, I don't know. Actually, looking at these, I had an actual tendency to add a lot of stats effects, which, because of how characters use actions completely randomly, can just kind of be infinitely spread, or just never happen. Even if my characters died, I got experimental with how that worked. Having Creeptrap and Gordon Freddy auto-revive after 3 turns, which isn't really all that heard of in the Add Yourself RPG scene, even to this day. Also, I swear there's a reason Gordon Freddy is here, let me just get to that in like 30 minutes. I honestly gotta applaud 2015 me for being arguably one of the more innovative creators in the Add Yourself RPG scene. What I'm not applauding is whatever's going on here. Like, what did you do, Creeptrap?
Oh well, it's me as Elemalube.
What? No, Creeptrap, you can't just snap someone else's character and then make it your own.
Why?
Because it's their character, you don't own it.
Oh, but I love making Creeptrap versions of everyone.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I had this weird tendency to just kind of make people into Creeptrap a lot. Like, I really did forget how annoying I kind of was back then, and used other people's characters without much credit in my own projects. Weetie30, if you somehow come across this video, I am so sorry for me infecting your OC. I really was Autism Max back then. Like, seriously, I really was like... And you know what, they probably haven't been the same ever since. But not only did I nab from other users, I just kind of transformed any character I liked into Creeptrap, like, oh my goodness, what did he do to you, Pea-Shooter? PVZ Fusion be like, I really couldn't help myself from just taking other people's characters and turning them into well, just more Creeptraps. But I'm sure this isn't going to be a thing that affects even my own characters. I'm sure there are going to be like 50 million variations. Maybe even make like a horror game made out of the variations I have. Okay, back to Add Yourself RPGs. These fights can get wacky. Yeah, you'll be fighting damn near anything, but then the bosses will have the weirdest power scaling. Like, these bosses have a tendency to have tens of thousands of health out of nowhere, and then the main party has like 8,000 health tops in comparison. Just let it be known that the power scalers on the Verse Wiki are gonna have a field day when they learn about Scratch Add Yourself RPGs. So get this, alright? This shark, who has 200,000 health by the way, still beats out an animatronic who's encased in metal, an electric elemental cube guy, and a guy who's just kind of there along for the ride. I think this guy might solo Dragon Ball, I don't know guys. The giant health these bosses tend to have also really doesn't scale with the damage the playing members are usually allowed to dish out, making these fights really long. So take this fight against Kailu from Go Anime, who according to the description is bullying some guys, so we just decide to fight him. Oh, also he has a gun. But guess how long this fight took to beat? 15 minutes. It took 15 minutes. This isn't uncommon, by the way. My recordings for these fights tend to go over an hour, and I don't finish them because there usually isn't a prominent or interesting ending, so yeah, these early ones can get a bit boring after a while. It may sound like I'm being pretty negative, but I still love these projects dearly to my little autistic envy heart. And as I said earlier, it really helps me feel like I was part of a community, which growing up as an autistic person, I'm not really the best at socializing in real life situations. The last thing I'll bring up are the characters I created for these. I usually whip out quite a lot of random characters to fight like Skeletron from Pizzareia with, like sentient paper birds, sentient elements, sentient puppets of Spyro characters. There's a lot of sentient characters for some reason. But the main gang you'd expect to see along for these Add Yourself RPGs are Creeptrap, Retrospective, Fredblue, and Goosey Lucy. Okay, yeah, that was the name I used to give her. That was it. Wait, should I be calling her that because it was at the time, or would that be dead naming? I'm just gonna go with her current canon name being Gela, as I do still use her to this day and plan on bringing her over to my big project adventure. There's also those other characters I made up as time went on, and I do actually plan on bringing them back into the modern day, obviously remastering their designs to fit in more with how I sprite nowadays. But we're gonna focus on the main 4 characters I tend to whip out in Add Yourself RPGs and how they roll. Oh my goodness, I just got whiplash remembering back then there was like a war going on between bitmap and vector sprites because I don't know. Sprites are for life though. Okay, update. Apparently according to Scratch lore, well, from what I'm gathering, bitmap characters are apparently just generally weaker than vector characters. So, is this Scratch racism?
Whoa!
Creeptrap was generally the most well-rounded, and has the unique trait of having noticeably higher health than anyone else I made. They had a heal that usually affects everyone. They had 2 attacks that did pretty much the same thing, like they just run up to the enemy, and either it's a punch, but it's not even really a punch, it's just like you slam your body into it, or jump scare, more foreshadowing. Weirdly enough, for a certain period of time, one of Creeptrap's attacks were summoning hundreds of tools. I have no idea why they just had this, but alright. Later on, Creeptrap really kind of became a magic user, being able to summon thunder and healing weather. Basically, they were chucked with the Weatherbird class in Angry Birds Epic. I mean, the Porky RPG Add Yourself is the most egregious case of this. I mean, at least I didn't have to grind on the golden pig to give him the legendary equipment.
Aw, dang it.
Retrospective was kind of weird. I mean, even weirder than they already were, since Retrospective was created to be an evil clone of Creeptrap. They existed for an Add Yourself RPG, and they kind of just became not evil afterwards. Well, only sometimes. Retrospective's class was usually as a witch, with a lot of their moves being based off splash potions from Minecraft and, Retrospective then eventually gained the power to call the dead. Leave up to 11-year-old me to cook up characters that were simultaneously multi-classing as alchemists and necromancers. But also shoutouts to this one project where Retrospective references the greatest piece of horror to grace the MS-DOS.
Sugar, it's him! Eat my Reeboks, freak face.
Next up, Fred Blue, weirdly enough, kind of acts as the tank of the party, and arguably has the highest survivability out of everyone. Not only did his metal drink ability have decent healing, but it straight up halves the damage he takes. And due to everyone else being able to heal, Fred Blue tended to straight up double his health by the end of an Add Yourself RPG fight. And finally, Gela was the basic de facto healer of the party, because Gela was the girl, and it's also like Chica from FNAF, and Chica in FNAF World was a healer because she is a girl. Believe it or not, healers are actually pretty rare for Add Yourself RPG characters. Like, even her basic attack has AoE healing for the entire party. Her emergency pizza skill kind of confused me at first, but after digging into the code, she actually prioritizes the party member with the least HP. Only issue is that this is actually worse than her basic pizza healing skill, which is also an AoE heal on top of that. Despite this, it's a pretty interesting mechanic given the limitations of an Add Yourself RPG. I can't really say it's all that applicable for adventure since you, well, have full control over everyone, and you just, well, choose the one you want to heal. One of my favourite things about characters in Add Yourself RPGs is that there's zero consistency with how long characters can survive. Either they die turn 1, or they will be able to survive for hours on end. Specifically Puppet Spyro 2, I had to nerf him in other Add Yourself RPGs because I guess I forgot that taking 1 damage from everything is overpowered as hell. So anyways, here's a tier list on how long each character can last in the average Add Yourself RPG, ranked for how close they are to Puppet Spyro to how close they are to Toad. Actually, speaking of adventure, even though I didn't say that like 5 seconds ago, it's been quite a while. Very quite a while. Like 3 years quite a while. I am so sorry for the lack of update, guys.
What's adventure?
Actually, that's a good question. Let's jump right in. Adventure is a turn-based RPG that I've had as my, kind of life project. Although I'm not very good at working on it, I'm too addicted to Die of Death, Plants vs. Zombies, and Spookies. Which, if you remember from the last Adventure Direct, I was working with the Unity game engine for making stuff. Well, until certain things happened. And I've switched to Gamemaker for working on it now, which you may know as the game engine Toby Fox uses on his games. And I honestly don't want to switch back now, as I generally feel more confident with how coding works there than on Unity. Also, the pixel consistency on Gamemaker is honestly just way better than on Unity. Like with Unity, you get this kind of weird like mix of garbage, like some so retro Add Yourself in Mario Maker shit. So yeah, from now on, Adventure is going to be developed in Gamemaker, and well, there are some new things, also some samey things, but in Gamemaker. I'm not the best at working on this with how on and off I am, especially with this channel and me Autism Hyperfixating over a new character every month. Oh shoot, I really haven't explained what Adventure really is now. Adventure is set roughly around 2012. It doesn't matter too much in my eyes the exact date the game is set, just that it's pretty early into the 2010s, following Creeptrap and their crew of increasingly wacky and depressed and existential friends each chapter along the way. And the current game plan I have is that I'm going to be releasing each of the chapters, also like Toby Fox, so I can stay relevant and I will always be in your head. Lolbit, what are you doing? Why did you cut me off? I'm scary. I'm not the one from a horror series.
What happened to Mangle? They're all orange and purple
What are you doing
now.
here? Right, so what have I been up to? Well, first up, I'm going to be showcasing the current title screen I have. Whoa, but sure are my guys, my babies! And if it wasn't obvious enough, I kind of nabbed this title screen from Thousand Year Door, with the zoom out, the way I made the logo drop in, the curtains appearing if you press space, the fact I'm literally using the title theme from Thousand Year Door as well. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious what game I was inspired by at the time. This was the first room I worked on when I started using Gamemaker after I got the general gist of how things work. Most of this is made using sequencers, which are kind of like sprites but exist solely for animation. Initially, I thought sequencers were going to be pretty important for animation and stuff, but the more I realized, the more I noticed that most of the animation is just moving stuff for resizing it, and the actual actions for the sprites could probably just be handled by me making sprite sheets. Once you boot up the game, I added a chance the title screen would change into something different. Oh yeah, that sure is different, alright. Why did I add this seemingly insignificant and potentially unseen feature? I just thought it was fun. Besides that, I honestly didn't get much else done with the title screen. I do have the file graphics, but that's about it. Now, I actually do have what scene happens after you start a new game, so let's see that cutscene. Whoa, that was crazy! Oh, okay, I can't just do that for everything, so let me dissect my own cutscene and give insight. Making this cutscene wasn't the hardest, as for the most part, Creeptrap and Exodorus are just kinda chilling on the tram. Even though I'm pretty sure I've got it set in stone that Exodorus can jump at extremely high and immense speeds in their lore. But magical realism is awesome because I get to add dragons from modern day, so I may as well reap in the other benefits, which means I'm playing this ancient deity dragon in a tram with the autism rabbit. Most of the dialogue for this cutscene went into me having to get the dialogue skipping to work, like when Creeptrap cuts off Exodorus, and when they also cut off the intercom. Why am I making Creeptrap cut off everyone? They're like supposed to be the optimistic one. For dialogue, I have a few macros set up, which are kind of like a quick way to get the settings for dialogue set up, like what's being said, the character's name, the colour of the character's name, and the aforementioned dialogue skipping. For some weird reason, I kind of had to make the dialogue skipping be a mandatory thing set, else it would just always skip or never. I have no idea how this solves it, but that's just a coding experience, isn't it? That's a major thing I want to show off that's in the works, is the overworld I've got going on so far. Movements... Wait, it's Pyron. What's he doing here? He's like, supposed to appear a little while after this. Well, he's mainly here to show off the follower tutorial follower system I added. Pretty simple, just works like how Deltarune does it. Though, I am going to have to eventually find a way to do cutscenes during overworld movement and have characters move to certain places, no matter where they were before the cutscene started. Which may be a little tough to get right. Alright, now let's start talking to some guy. Wait, did I just get an achievement for doing absolutely nothing? Anyways, much like the cutscenes, I'm using my dialogue system for the character dialogue, go figure, and you can also see that I made it so that the dialogue box is different for nameless characters. And look at that potty blob go. Man, I wish I was like that guy. Finally, I have room transitions, but the overworld is still a work in progress, so there's not much here past the first room, except for the fact that you warp to the right place and Pyron doesn't teleport out thin air, which was something I wanted to solve so room transitions felt more smooth. There's also other stuff I can showcase too, but some of it's like secrets, and me, again, nabbing stuff. Like, I am so sorry, Elsplash, but I thought this would be cool. I thought Guiding Light's thing was cool. Guiding Light number 2 now. And that's kind of it for updates. Again, I've been very on and off with this project due to me focusing on this channel and also being very lazy. I do have scripts in the works for animations, which I'm planning on doing next after this video is complete. Adventure segment. There wasn't an adventure segment transition in the script, so I made this up on the spot. Now, when you have a site all about adding onto other people's work that's full of users creating their own characters, power scaling and versus battles were kind of inevitable, and I'm guilty of this too. Even in the Add Yourself RPGs we saw, you could definitely see some people try to power scale within those already, but now in these character versus projects, it really does boil down to playground arguments now. Depending on how much time you're willing to invest, your project page is going to start filling up with a lot of suspiciously similar thumbnails that have a lot of remixes piled up on the title. Sure, some of my later projects also kind of have similar thumbnails, but that's because you can't really see much of the content that Creeptrap presents thumbnail covers. Oops. Now look, it can be fun to pit characters against each other in a fight. I mean, there are channels dedicated to fictional characters dashing against each other, but when you're making two randoms on the internet fight with their own OCs, well, it's gonna end up with having people want their guy on top at all times, no matter how overpowered the opposition is. Honestly though, I don't think there's any other site that's had something like this though. I mean, maybe Newgrounds or DeviantArt. If any of you came across something similar, comment below, because I do kind of feel like it may have happened on different sites too. I'm honestly kind of both surprised and not all surprised that both now and back then I was heavily inspired by whatever I was into, and would try to completely inject it into anything I can think of, because I am autistic as hell, but I do not care. I get mad dopamine from pulling it off. So for this section, I'm going to be showing a bunch of times I slapped other stuff into other mediums and more Add Yourself RPGs. Plants vs Zombies is a series I've been on and off with. Well, mainly the main series at least. Mainly because it's just not in a great state right now. Like at this point for PVZ3, they're resorting to nabbing from PVZ fan games to survive in any way. And let it be known that this is all on PopCap. They're the ones who made the choice post-stream should have been unlocked on level 420 last spacer.
Chat, we cooked or just french fried?
Nothing much has really changed, as I didn't really make many projects featuring Plants vs Zombies, and very often kind of played as supports to other stuff going on. I mean, I don't think a single melon pole can take on zombies. You need like magic rabbit animatronics and stick figures to deal with that. Wait, there aren't even any plants in this one. FNAF's beating you up, PopCap. You need to up your power scaling group. One project I do want to bring up is an animation where there's like, okay, so there's like a zombie apocalypse going on all of a sudden. Nice decoration, by the way. But then Scott Pilgrim shows up all of a sudden to help fight the zombies. Hard cut to another guy who Scott comes up to. He gets his ass kicked piss easy, and then becomes a zombie and attacks. But then Scott decides to not be a zombie anymore because it's the rules of the episode, which makes no sense, and you may as well have said that you fucking felt like it. Sorry, none of this had to do with PVZ, but I felt like bringing it up. Okay, cut to the PVZ lawn with the guy wondering what to do with no protection. Then all of a sudden, Creeptrap shows up with PVZ seed packets and doesn't know what to do with them in a zombie apocalypse. Who the heck just happens to have PVZ seed packets during a zombie apocalypse and is like, oh, don't want these. So now Zombos appears on like 1-2 or something and tries to game end the plants. But Sunflower's super evil all of a sudden and tries to kill Zombos by...
Riot Word 6 Word 50 Riot 0.
This is what the average Scratch remix and continue story project's like, by the way. As the movie, and well, I suppose in a greater context, internet culture at the time also definitely had an impact on my early humor being, well, random equals funny meme humor being processed through a neurodivergent 10-year-old. But you know what, screw it, we're loving tonight, baby. After I made my own, well, I guess remix of that movie, fittingly enough, I made my own shorts after, which were, it was random equals funny meme humor being processed through a neurodivergent 10-year-old. Like, okay, after this one where Scratch Cat becomes becomes a horse, we get this. Oh man, there's a short I made with an annoying orange clip. But weirdly enough though, it's all like desynced and stuff for some reason, and I actually don't think it's because 11-year-old me plain old screwed up. If you don't know, Scratch at some point updated due to Flash being cancelled around the end of 2020 for Scratch 3.0. Thankfully, things didn't change for the core coding stuff, although I have no idea why they changed the fonts for 3.0. But when going back to games like Scratch Snap or Add Yourself RPGs, I noticed some things just lagged more, and it just kind of feels weird, and really does kind of kill some of the magic. Fix your site, Scratch. Weirdly enough, Impossible Quiz appears more than PVZ in these older projects, to the point I made my own, but I don't really want to get down into a full discussion on the history of the Impossible Quiz. If you want to see a deep dive into the history of the Impossible Quiz and how Slap Me Do involved the formula he popularized, then check out Fizzy Paint's retrospective on its legacy and Tamago's own breakdown of the quizzes, question by question. Okay, so unlike the actual Impossible Quiz, which, to be fair, you do sometimes have to forego your own common sense with how it tricks you, this one just makes me look like the biggest raging narcissist imaginable. Like, half of these are just like, am I awesome? Like, really, Creeptrap, you need to stop glazing yourself.
What?
Right. You need to stop overpraising yourself for everything.
Aww, but can you please play through it, please?
Alright, let's do this. Question 1. Creeptrap is only horrendously misspelled because Creeptrap over here likes to take over people's bodies. Where is MTV? I don't know. But I'll just guess like Creeptrap's house.
No way, how'd you get that?
Look. Tell me your studio. Oh, okay. So Scratch has studios, which are groups of projects put together with a message board, and people can be invited to contribute to it. I myself was a big part of the Add Yourself RPG studio. So the right answer is my own studio, because of course it is. Bananas to you? Oh, well, apparently the answer is Creeptrap's short name backwards. Question 5. Give into your greed and pick +1 life, which actually does give you another life. Who is this? Like someone's OC, I don't know. Oh no, an atomic bomb! Better sacrifice someone else's Scratch OC for it. Number 8. This one's pretty similar to the choose the answer question in the real Impossible Quiz. Just click the question box. Yoshi. Just Yoshi as the question. Well, for some reason the answer is Japan, which I guess makes sense since he was created in Japan. I actually don't even think question 10 has a right answer, so just use a skip here. Retrospective Junior. Well, apparently the only way to counter this is to click cupcake. Choose food. You know Impossible Quiz, click the poorly drawn teeth that look more like a computer chip. Question 13. What's this quiz around? Well, it's Creeptrap, obviously. What's the sequel to Impossible Quiz 3? Well, that doesn't even exist, and Impossible Quizmas isn't part of the question, so you have to pick the fourth one. What's purple, a dragon, and has an orange tummy? Oh my goodness, that sure is a British word. Wait, who's Spyro?
Oh, he's a purple dragon with an orange tummy.
Okay, but, like, it's weird. I'm strangely just drawing a blank when I'm trying to think of who Spyro is. Like, I don't know who he is.
He's really cool and awesome and cool, and I remember there was another purple one. I think her name was...
Okay, so I think this is where you're supposed to be at, or at least where he told me to go in this weird place.
Question 48, where's Cuckoo? Well, I already kind of clicked him and stuff. Whatever.
Whoopsies. Well, this is, the last one, basically. Anyways.
Oh, thank goodness. I was contemplating committing human genocide, but at least we're done with this.
Yippee!
Wow, this went on longer than I thought. I was just thinking it was just going to be some brief mentions of PVZ and Impossible Quiz. Well, then I kind of just went off a bit. I mean, there honestly really is so much to cover, and if I didn't truncate any of this, the video will probably last like 2 hours at minimum. And I really do want to get this video out before I hit the 30s. And then probably finish Adventure by the time I'm like 80. So before I got really sidetracked, I brought up stuff like PVZ as the movie and the Impossible Quiz as things I was inspired by, not just to prove I am not new gen. I can say ass and dick all I want, but I do kind of want my ass revenue. But mainly, above all else, there's one series, one franchise that downright made me in the mid to late 2010s. It's what caused me to make Geller and, okay, well, it's up in the air if I'm bringing back Fred Blue. I reference it more than anything else throughout my Scratch projects. The very second project I ever made was based off it. My main OC is based off the series' main villain. Half of my username I use on like every site is based off said main villain. It's FNAF. It's very obviously FNAF as my main inspiration. I mean, it's also Undertale, but I don't feel like getting into that. FNAF was my very first fandom, unless you count Scratch, which I don't really see as it's kind of a hub for people to make fan content for original stuff. Kind of like Game Jolt now that I think about it. I should have compared Scratch to that, actually. Now, on paper this sounds... well, it just sounds weird. FNAF's whole core story, well, before things got weird after UCN, it's about a serial killer murdering several children, stuffing them into rotting animal mascot suits for their soul energy stuff. Okay, maybe the Click Team FNAF games lore was still kind of weird. It has kind of been a while since I've seen a FNAF plot summary. Yeah, sure, FNAF nowadays definitely targets a younger demographic. I mean, Security Breach is the living embodiment of that changing audience. There's a reason I don't consider anything past Ultimate Custom Night as canon in my head. But by the time I was a FNAF fan, FNAF 4 was only a few months old, which Scott mentioned was made with the intent of being as scary as possible.
You know, and some, alternate life may have left the series alone at 3. People weren't happy with the jump scare of Springtrap, and that really bothered me. I wanted to make another entry that was really scary again. Yeah. And I think I accomplished that with Final Fantasy Freddy's 4.
Yes. So yeah, I was kind of an OG FNAF fan as a kid, and predictably, you can bet the lore was quite the allure to me. Okay, maybe like also the furry characters too. Remember, I went on to make characters like this. The idea that there was some underlying terrifying reality behind the late-night office job you work being unpeeled as you start to draw connections between the missing children and the bizarre human elements of the animatronics. Although it wasn't intended for someone my age, the story hidden beneath the surface struck hard, igniting that strong sense of curiosity within me, and game theory was the flint to FNAF's steel. The first few FNAF game theories feel so different in retrospect. Definitely didn't help with the choice of using the River Twigs and Masked Man battle theme. And of course, there was Golden Freddy, the enigmatic yellow bear as barely lit from your office, only being able to encounter if you're unlucky enough to hallucinate him over the Freddy poster in Camera 2B. I will say though, it's a rather bold move to assume the story was based off an actual real life murder. Like, that's really distasteful, honestly. I can distinctly remember in the FNAF 2 theory, the Golden Freddy jump scare unnerved me, even without the jump scare sound playing as I watched the video. But I was so shocked once I found out that for one frame, the fifth dead child could be seen before Golden Freddy attacked.
Mario.
I also remember I told my sibling about how scary the jump scare was, and then they did a silly sound to it. Ah, I'm scary. Actually, still to this day, the fact that Golden Freddy can just like appear in the hallway is kind of weird. Alright, so I went a bit too off track for me segueing into my own version of this series. So yeah, below with me likes Minecraft, likes FNAF, who we somehow would go on to create a 12-year-old autistic non-binary rabbit in a time period where FNAF, doesn't exist yet, but whatever, I don't feel like changing their name. Besides the OWAC Jump Scares project, OWAC stands for 1 Week at Cuckoo's by the way, I actually didn't really make all that many FNAF-based games on Scratch early on, mostly just snippets and ideas that were flowing around on what could happen for my theoretical FNAF fan game, though I never really made a completed 1 Week at Cuckoo's project. This all changes during November 2015 when I released the project Forever with Creeptrap, which doesn't really last forever. There's no real way to gain power and it automatically drains, so there's a theoretical cap to how long you can survive. But this was a sign of things to come and to be expanded upon. And so, on the 27th of December 2015, my, at the time, magnum opus was brought upon the world. 3 nights at Creeptraps. Oh yeah. 3 nights. I think I just did that to be different, which actually may have been better in the long run. 3 nights at Creeptraps is basically just FNAF all over again. You've got 2 doors, 2 lights, cameras, animatronics, phone calls. Wait, phone calls.
Hello? Hello? Oh, welcome to
Yeah, that really is what I sounded like in 2015. Time is a funny thing when you think about it. Like, one day you have the most innocent voice imaginable, and then the next you sound like a homeless stoner who's in their 40s. Can't be me though. Yeah, there's not very much that's different from base FNAF 1. In fact, it's more simplified and cuts off some of the fluff from the cameras. But I guess as a trade-off, we also don't have windows to see where Gela and Fredblue are when the doors close, which is, inconvenient. You kind of have to flash the lights and listen for the stinger that plays to know if they're gone or not. Also, what is going on with the hallucinations here? I know FNAF 1 also did this, but at least it was rare. Like here, they're happening like every 20 seconds, and it's either practically doing psychological warfare on you. Though it kind of does remind me of the hallucinations the Food Demon does in Spookies. Anyways, go watch the Spookies video. Night 1 is simple enough, you don't even need the cameras, as like Freddy. Creeptrap isn't active in the first night, and well, to give props, it works alright. Doors, door, lights, light, and cameras, camera. That is so dumb to say. Why did I word it like that? One quirk of the cameras that's pretty annoying is that they actually don't update when you're using them, so you have to click on one of the camera buttons to be able to see where they're actually at. This gets pretty tedious when Creeptrap starts becoming active during night 2, where you have to click on cam 6 to see if they are about to attack. Oh. You weren't there 4 seconds ago! So, night 2 is really hard. The animatronics are insanely unforgiving when it comes to attacking from the doors, as you're given roughly 3 or so seconds to close the door once they reach it. But more problems arise due to how slowly the office pans. If you aren't dead set task perfect, you could die a pretty unfair death with not much to do about. Creeptrap is even less forgiving. Once they enter the vents, you've got about 2 seconds tops, and Creeptrap does tend to attack more frequently than Gela and Fredblue. One thing I did learn throughout playing though, is that there's actually an audio cue that plays when Creeptrap goes through the vents. Using this, you don't actually have to use the cameras and you can just seal the vent whenever you hear that sound. But, oh my god, this is so brutal! Guess this was before I realised games were supposed to have balancing and leniency to give players a fighting chance. Once you die, you go straight back to night 1, as the project completely freezes over after a jump scare, which is not convenient to say the least. Alright, code edit's over, so we're starting from night 2. I am not spending those 6 minutes to get back there each attempt. Alright, 6 AM, I'm almost there. Don't ask why the nights go to 7 AM. Oh my god, I'm out of power? Are you kidding me? I was being as optimal as possible too. How did 10-year-old me think this was fair? Well, after I delved into the code, power runs on a drains every 5 seconds divided by the current usage system, which is pretty inconvenient if you just so happen to be flashing the lights or checking the cameras on the next cycle, because if that happens, well, tough luck sunshine, because the game thinks you're using up 2 units of power for that cycle, no matter how fast you are. And I don't really feel like bringing out the live split timer for the equivalent of FNAF 1's Night 3. So you know what we're gonna do?
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
Honestly, I just don't know how to beat night 2. Every time I get close to 7 AM, I'm just not able to get over to the other door in time before Fredblue or Gela kill me. Or I just run out of power and there's nothing I can do about it because oops, I turned on the lights at the wrong time and now I'm wasting more power. If any of you want to try and beat nights 2 to 4 for yourself, then I'll have the projects in the description below for you to try and beat it. But for now, Probably like number 2 on the max mode list. Much like FNAF 1, I had my own Golden Freddy, who's Golden Cuckoo, who isn't really related to Creeptrap, Geller, or Fredblue at all, which is weird. Unlike Golden Freddy though, Golden Cuckoo actually attacks you, even with the cameras up. If I remember too, Golden Cuckoo actually does actively close down the camera if you're not fast enough, which is quite aggressive. He also takes forever to attack, like Golden Freddy, like 10 seconds long. So what's the lore going on here? Probably just FNAF 1. I was already nabbing all the gameplay, I may as well nab the lore there. Like on night 1, Phone Guy talks about one of the animatronics killing someone, so I just kinda nabbed the Bio-V7 there too. So, 3 Nights at Creeptrap 1? It was alright, I guess. I mean, sure you could easily glitch the doors and cameras to just completely annihilate your power bar in like 2 seconds, but for being created by someone still in primary school, it is definitely not something to sneeze at. And it does show that even at a young age, I really did have quite an active brain to recreate something that's, even though kind of simple, it was kind of a full game. But one game simply wasn't enough. No. I wasn't going to miss up the opportunity to capitalize on its franchise potential. We need to bring out the sequels. And yeah, I obviously nabbed from FNAF 2, just like I nabbed from FNAF 1. Let's just get to it. What? Oh my god, not again! Come on, Creeptrap! Do you really have to nab other people's characters, even for your big spooky FNAF series?
But I credited them in the description though!
You didn't ask for permission, did you?
Yeah, okay, I didn't.
3 Nights at Creeptrap 2 is kind of different to FNAF 2. Instead of the 2 vents on each side next to the hallway, there's one. Okay, well also, it's also a door you close, except since there isn't a power system, it kind of, it just kind of opens by itself. I don't even think Phone Guy explains it. Besides that, this still is a scratch FNAF 2 game. Pretty much every mechanic from it is here. Cameras, which make you have to use the flashlight to see, because that obviously made sense. The music box you gotta keep wound up, using the master counter. Actually, like, only 4 of them, since this dog guy in Creeptrap, again, goes through the vents to attack. Hell, there's even a Shadow Bonnie equivalent I coded in, who, according to the game file, is called Shadow Yoshi, which is... well, I have no idea what this is supposed to mean. I mean, like, FNAF 2 barely explains Shadow Freddy and Bonnie. Do you expect me to explain what Shadow Yoshi is? Much like how FNAF 2 ramped up the overall difficulty compared to the first game, TNAC 2, okay, I know that sounds dumb, but I am not writing the full name every time. This script is long enough. TNAC 2 starts out more difficult than the first game, although unlike TNAC 1, Night 2 is actually possible. And with that, our little night god can prevail to the third night. Hooray! Alright, let's finally finish one of these. I'm surprised how stable this one is, honestly. Excuse me, what? No, like, really, I had the mask on, but I guess I didn't or something. Actually, wait, why did he attack when I have the mask on? Oh. Turns out one of the animatronics can just decide either to attack in events or through the office, which I didn't really expect, to be honest. And also makes even less sense. Like, when they go through the hallway, apparently the mask works, but when they go through the vents, it doesn't. Like, what is the logic there? But the big problem is, there's 3 of these guys that can attack you from the vents, and the vent door has an offset between opening and being able to close it again. So if you aren't lucky, then they can just so happen to attack you after you had to close the vent from a previous animatronic attack, which is pretty BS. It's kind of a shame I didn't try to rework this out, because overall, TNAC 2 actually does improve a lot on the polish compared to the first game. You could really see me start to improve these games as I iterated on stuff like the Office engine, making sure cameras didn't bug out when opening them, and bringing on more advanced kind of animation than ever. The cameras, they still don't update. I guess I was too tall of a task for 11-year-old me. Last thing to bring up, there's a death minigame, obviously, as FNAF 2 started adding these, so it was second nature of me to do that. And it's just a Give Gifts Give Life minigame, though instead of Golden Freddy, the puppet equivalent attacks. Speaking of Golden Freddy, Golden Cuckoo doesn't show up, instead being Golden Creeptrap, which I'm pretty sure I intentionally did set up for the third game, which we'll get to. In like 2 seconds, I have nothing else to bring up. Weirdly enough, TNAC 2 kind of killed it in the attention it got. I don't really know or remember why. I mean, I barely understand how YouTube algorithms work, let alone what's even going on with Scratch, so you tell me. So after the amazing success of TNAC 2, the 3 Nights at Creeptrap series has finally hit the mainstream, and all 2,000 people on Scratch had one thing on mind. When is TNAC 3, the finale to the story, gonna come out? 2.5 weeks apparently. Yeah, if you thought Scott cranking out the first few FNAF games within months of each other was crazy, I was just cracked as a kid. Nothing was going to stop me from nabbing from the FNAF series. Alright, let's get into this. What did I rip off this time? Well, for once in the series, you actually get a newspaper clipping before starting your first night, which surprisingly hasn't shown up in the previous 2 games and... wait. Okay, so besides the fact that we're working under minimum wage, things, as you can probably expect, play out pretty similarly to FNAF 3. There's one animatronic, there's phantoms, there's a light switch, there's a toxic meter, okay, maybe some things are different too. Oh, thank God there's a mute call button here now. Unlike the first 2 games, there aren't really any cameras, just a feed of the map keeping track of where the Springtrap equivalent is. And, oh my goodness, is that updating cameras in my Scratch FNAF game? Impossible. FNAF 3 is touted by the fandom as by far the most unfair and RNG heavy of the office survival style games. And we've already seen the relentless look you need to beat even the main nights. I really am not going to be happy with what I have to go through here. Oh, never mind, this is somehow the easiest one. Golden Creeptrap, oh right, yeah, so remember this guy? Yeah, that's him now. Golden Creeptrap is all you have to worry about, and it just takes forever for him to reach your office, and sometimes will even just walk into a dead end, making you have to do nothing even more. It's weird though, because in one of the teasers I made for the 3rd game, there are events that Golden Creeptrap could presumably enter to get to your office faster, but for whatever reason, I didn't seem to follow up on the idea. Golden Creeptrap being the only threat really bogs down the depth and doing anything the first 2 games have. Sure, like FNAF 3, there's errors in maintenance panel, but the cameras actually don't update when there's a camera error. You can just kind of AFK until you can't track him anymore, and when it comes to defending from him, all you really have to do is wait until he's at the door frame and use the toxic button to stop him, which still kind of weirds me out. Like, this is supposed to be a haunted attraction, and there's just a button that fills the office with toxic gas. I think the constructors of this place might actually be more dangerous than the animatronic itself. I mean, bro ain't got no arms. So far, this game has been piss easy. I mean, Phantom Cuckoo has been pretty annoying, but Golden Creeptrap is so slow, it barely even matters. Not like I can still use the toxic button, even with all the errors I save. So it's not like I'm ever gonna... Excuse me, what? So you know how in FNAF 3, Springtrap would have a chance to just not listen to the audio? Okay, so imagine if the only way to count Springtrap was to play audio when he was at the door frame. Yeah, same thing goes here, except this button is concealing a 50-50 shot that Golden Creeptrap won't go away, and you have no control over this. Besides that one fluke of pretty garbage luck, honestly, like I think I hit a 1 in 16 there. I had zero trouble with the rest of the game, because it was so easy, even a Secret Night 6. Oh no. A bloody fence! Due to how I coded Golden Creeptrap's AI. You know the drill by this point, I nabbed the post-night cutscenes from FNAF 3. They play out the same and...
What the hell? Purple guy!
Wait, no, but he's yellow and stuff. But wait, also no, he's referred to as Purple Guy in the sprites. So, at this point, I can't really avoid talking about Cuckoo and the other guys. So, if I can remember, Cuckoo was the threadbare of this series, being the very first pizza place in the TNAC timeline, and despite me making 1 week at Cuckoo projects way before TNAC, as I said earlier, I didn't go through with this, so I suppose they just merged into the TNAC universe. Like FNAF 3, again and stuff, the last night cutscene has the soul of one of the dead children, goes to yellow but also purple, guy is, they get into a suit, and alas, 2 become 1. Oh my goodness, wait, that's blood! How did I get away with this on Scratch? Besides the extra nights, there's barely any secrets this time around. I guess I was more so focused on the original story and actually making an office this time. There were no desks in the first 2 games. You were in an empty room with nothing in it. That, and I can say I've definitely been better at making sure the game doesn't fall apart after night 1. I didn't mention it in the first game, but there was a pretty debilitating bug that caused the doors to not scroll with the office during any concurrent night, which was very annoying to deal with and made me have to start on night 2 for it to work in any way. Next game up isn't finished, but I may as well bring it up for my overly detailed and not all intended read of the series storyline. Tonight 4 is when the Cuckoo's Pizzareia cast comes into the mainframe, this time in all their circle tool glory. This may be referred to as a demo, but it's far from even being finished, or even really all that functional. I really did leave this one to rot. Fun fact, the room in this game is based on my actual IRL room at the time, with the rug and everything. Sadly, I don't really have any pictures to compare it with, so just use your imagination or whatever. I really didn't make any more TNAC games after this. In fact, project production really slowed down after TNAC 3 overall, and it would take almost 2 years for me to make another complete TNAC game, being TNAC Pizzareia Simulator. Oh god, there's an opening cutscene just like FNAF Pizzareia Sim. There's gonna be prepubescent Creeptrap voice acting, isn't there?
Thank you for entering the Creeptrap Pizzareia Entertainment Company. We are sure that you've made the right decision, and now you can't go back. But don't worry, since you're gonna make lots of money, even if you're gonna have to use all of the money you've used.
Yeah, so if you ever wonder why I script my videos, and in turn take way longer to make them, this is why. So, much like... This is like the 50th time I've said this. Pizzareia Sim, you spend a day opening up the catalogue and buying off decorations, attractions, and ingredients for some reason to improve your stats on the left, while trying to avoid increasing risk to prevent yourself from getting lawsuits. Then you have to... well, there aren't any tasks to do in the night segments, you just have to wait it out until 7 AM. Something I completely forgot about on the first night, and... Oh. He's back. So I guess I'll actually start playing and buy out some of the cheap Trash in the Gang animatronics. I mean, they honestly give quite a lot for the amount they cost. Oh, hey, they appear on the stage during the night segments, that's pretty cool. Wait, did they just move? Okay, I guess they are alive somehow. I don't know how this lamp is out for blood, but I guess there's a reason this basement of a pizzeria comes pre-installed with magic grade doors that can materialize if you have power. Right, the office for this game. Instead of having two giant-ass vents surrounding you, I went back to the basic 2014 FNAF fan game approach of 2 doors and cameras. I even made it where there's keybinds to activate the doors and cameras, although you'd have to hold A and D to keep the left and right doors respectively closed. I definitely kind of rushed this night system though. Animatronics don't get more aggressive over the week, and there's basically nothing going on. Well, at least the power works better this time. Alright, finally finished. I just bought all the non-animatronic stuff this run around so I could basically AFK during the nights. What happens at the end?
Good job finishing your first week at Creeptrap's Pizza Place. The place will close down shortly after, and leaving behind all the scary things so they don't get out.
Huh. Wait, normal ending? Oh, there's lore to this one too. Okay, fine, I'll try again. I'm not sitting through this opening cutscene though, let me fix it.
Entering the creep.
Much better. Getting everything is honestly not too hard. As long as you're buying new stuff, you'll be able to double your cash each night. But for these obscenely long nights, well...
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
This time, I didn't even really have to modify the code. There's a feature built in where holding F just as the night begins lets you speed past the hours at lightning speed, getting you by in about half a minute, which isn't even enough time for the animatronics to reach the door. As I found out afterwards, all that's required for the true ending is to just buy righty. Ooh, how scary and malicious. But I just assumed you also needed the rocking variants of Creeptrap Gilla and Fred Blue. It doesn't matter too much as I was able to buy everything by night 6 and make a pretty good amount of money. It was kind of satisfying to see the amount of money I made each night increase exponentially. Alright, what quirky things do I say here?
Oh, okay. I guess you managed to sort everything correctly out for me. Wait, you may be asking what you mean. I need to destroy his place for good. I don't want to see any of this. All it's done is ruin me. Murderous creatures. So, go set the place alight and then escape. We need to get rid of those animatronics and this whole place of chains. Oh, I said it wrong. Anyways, just destroy it.
Oh. So, kind of unlike Pizzareia Simulator, Creeptrap, who I guess now I have to differentiate between the character and the animatronics, set up this entire business opportunity to pass off the burden of these animatronics they created to someone else, instead of being a thinly veiled trap to lead the remaining souls in. Creeptrap instead has now made this your problem. You bought the animatronics, you own the franchise now, this is your burden now, and Golden Cuckoo appearing when you run out of power is all the more proof to showcase that the curse has spread onto you now. Whether intentional or not, which I'm leaning on the former, I actually created my own original plot beat breaking off what happens in Pizzareia Simulator normally, leaving a pretty grim conclusion for whatever Creeptrap motivations were. Alright, let's actually stitch up this lore into something comprehensive. 2005. The year Cuckoo's Pizzareia went up and opened for the public to enjoy, featuring animal animatronic characters as a standout feature, and also Spyro there for some reason. Creeptrap, a young 12-ish-year-old rabbit, comes on in to see what all the fuss is on about with their friend Yoshi, who's also a character and animatronic. Look, I just kind of want to make the timeline kind of make sense and fit together well. It doesn't matter if there's like 50 million Yoshis or whatever. Creeptrap was fascinated by the animatronics. They almost felt lifelike, despite only being programmed as machines and not really having the most advanced tech. However, some way or another, a hideous incident occurs, causing Yoshi to be fatally injured and eventually die. This causes Yoshi to become a shadow, which can be seen in TNAC 2. Creeptrap is struck with heavy grief, fearing the murderous capabilities the animatronics possess, to the point this gives Creeptrap nightmares about these animatronics in their room, presumably not even getting over these nightmares, though for the sake of the lore I'm making up, they eventually recover from this traumatic event. 10 years later, Creeptrap eventually takes a liking to engineering as a job, specifically constructing animatronics. Even after everything that's happened, they're still fascinated at the idea of living characters via robotics, eventually creating their own pizzeria. Creeptrap's Pizzareia. Very creative. Despite their goals of creating safer, more friendly animatronics, to the point they only let them move during the night to prevent servos from overclocking, requiring a night shift, which is why TNAC 1 happens, it fails, as at least 3 people were killed from these animatronics, as the save them minigame in TNAC 2 implies. Quickly after, Creeptrap shuts down the original Pizzareia to avoid further casualties and potentially risk facing debt from handling lawsuits. You'd think Creeptrap would just up and front stop with this and pursue some other, maybe more successful career. Despite this though, they still had 3 killer machines that needed to be taken care of in some way without people realizing they may have been behind the killer animatronics. Creeptrap makes a deal with another Pizzareia business to not only take in the animatronics for potential repairs for another shot of them. This doesn't work as they're still murderous except for when they're countered by a mask of Creeptrap. By TNAC 3, Creeptrap tries to write off the whole murder incident by making a haunted attraction over it all. Unfortunately, sometime between TNAC 2 and 3, someone decided to get into a golden Creeptrap suit, something only intended for Creeptrap to wear, obviously resulting in... So now there's a rotting human piloting a blocky rabbit throughout the attraction now. And finally we get to Pizzareia Simulator, where with no real other options, Creeptrap finally decides to sell out their restaurant to someone else, letting them buy whatever animatronics Creeptrap had laying over for future projects. Instead of owning up about the murders, they push the burden onto someone else, to live with the grief they've caused, represented by Golden Cuckoo, part of what caused all of this to happen to begin with. Well, there was one last project Creeptrap made, just to make sure the truth never slipped out. Wow, yeah, I'm surprised I was able to salvage at least something out of this pretty uninspired series, but to give credit, these massive game projects really did throw me into the deep end of more complex coding stuff, like states, arrays, and having to stop other lines of code for certain scenarios, which I am definitely bringing along as I journey into Gamemaker for the future. I may not really use Scratch anymore, but it was a big part of my life back then, showed me what communities and fandoms were like, taught me stuff about game design and animation, and shaped me to be the person I am today. And, well, all I can say is, thank you, Scratch. Thank you for the childhood you gave me. It brought joy and sadness all the same, but it really did help me grow up. I just want to go back to 2015 where things were actually good. Do we really have to live in this modern day where everything is just filled with disgusting cynicism and people just not wanting to be sincere or truthful anymore? Where any lie could just be made out to be the truth because some higher up fat-ass slob said so, and that we're all gonna die because humans are the most disgusting, hateful creatures imaginable?
Hey, wait, what's wrong?
It's that the world just sucks and there's absolutely nothing I did to cause this, so what am I supposed to do?
Well, I don't really know too much about stuff going on in your world, but I think you shouldn't be making it take over you and stuffs.
But it's just everything is gonna get all worse and there's nothing I can do. So why shouldn't I want to go back to 2015? Why shouldn't I want to go back to somewhere that's better?
The way I see it, I think you should keep moving on regardless. Does it really have to matter that those people who don't even know you don't care? What matters is that you keep pushing forward and showing how far you've come, instead of repeating history over and over, and make more awesome projects to let everyone enjoy. Including that, adventure thing. I think that was really cool.
You're right. Maybe I've been too hard on myself.
Well, if you want, you can take your time. I took my time for TNAC Pizzareia Simulator, and you liked it.
I mean, it was more of a conceptual liking for the idea, but I guess you're right.
So don't worry about deadlines or something. What I want to see you do is make that project. No matter how long it takes, you are going to do this.
Yeah, I will keep moving on. For everyone. Wow, that was surprisingly profound of you.
Wait, the timeline!
Wait, what?
Impossible Quiz 3, if you click Chris, then you die because you're the future Chris and the timeline messes up and stuff. Why didn't that happen?
Oh, well, that's complicated. I mean, I'm not...
Oh, well, I gotta go back and see that movie. Hopefully I didn't miss it. Bye!
Huh. Well, I guess it's time to continue on. I guess I could talk about Spyro for how many times he showed up in those projects, just like how FNAF and Impossible Quiz did. But then again, I don't really know how I've not known about him, because of how much of a furry...
Hey, what's up?
Who are you?